Good morning! All right, the Red Sox are in the playoffs. Tom Brady is almost out of prison. And it's time for another MDF annual meeting. It must be late September. Welcome. It's great to have you all here. It's always good to throw a party with 300 of your closest friends. We really appreciate it. Now, I must say that having stayed overnight here at the Holiday Inn by the Bay, they have a real truth in advertising challenge. So I got up and I went to take my shower and I saw the volumizing shampoo that was offered to me as a courtesy. I used it. Results were disappointing. I said, well, maybe I need to double down and add the volumizing conditioner. Still didn't work. So I'm not a litigious man by nature, despite being an attorney, but I think we have a problem here, folks. Welcome to MDF Annual Meeting. It's a privilege to be here for our 38th and for my second, and to have you join us. We have a lot that's happened this year, we have a lot that's going on, and we have an unbelievable program for you. Just an awesome set of awardees to recognize today who exemplify what we stand for, working for long-term economic growth here in the state of Maine. Last year, Terry Hayes, the state treasurer, said to me, "Your annual meeting is my annual booster shot of positivity." And so we have that bar to live up to, Terry. Thank you very much. We'll try to do it. We have a couple of provocative keynoters. Depending on how provocative they are, their views are their own and not those of MDF. But they're going to have some really great insights to offer us on a national and even global scale, which is a real treat. As I have, please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. As you know from experience as diehard conference goers, the restrooms are around the corner, a double right. And without further ado, I want to thank Hannaford for sponsoring the Leadership Maine Alumni Breakfast we had earlier. I want to thank Nellie May for being our breakfast sponsor for the other 300 of us. We couldn't do this without our sponsorship supporters. And I want to call up, before we get going in the program, our lead sponsor, Bangor Savings Bank. Bangor Savings Bank has been a champion circle supporter of MDF for years too many to count. And at this point, they are a comprehensive sponsor, our largest corporate sponsor. And my good friend Jim Donnelly is here to give a few remarks on behalf of Bangor Savings. Welcome, Jim.
There aren't very many conferences you'll go to where you start off with Dropkick Murphy as your wake-up music, and then Yellow suing the hotel for not giving him hair. I'm really pleased to be in this prestigious group. Bangor Savings Bank has been a sponsor of MDF because we have a shared vision and values for where the state is and what really makes up Maine and makes us special. And we're looking at the horizon and over the horizon for what do we need to be doing today to make sure that that is as prosperous for our children and those that will follow as it has been for those in this room. Congratulations to the award winners today, because what you do every day to make the state of Maine a little bit better is being recognized, but it's a small token for all of the good things you do. Congratulations. And this is the paid commercial part, so pay close attention. Bangor Savings Bank shares these values with MDF, and in just some demonstrated ways, we're the #1 SBA lender in the state for the 5th, and it looks like going on the 6th year running. That ends in October, and the numbers look like it may turn out that way again. We're the #1 Maine State housing lender, so for somebody's first home, Bangor Savings is helping them reach the potential and their dream. And for those that may be their first home and don't need Maine State housing, or not their first home, we're also the largest mortgage lender in the state. So when you take those things, you can see our dollar commitment to helping Maine progress. And so making the investment in Maine Development Foundation to coordinate all of us into a stronger effort to move the economy forward is important. One of my jobs when I was in college was I worked in a lumber mill in northern Maine, the Levesque family. And so I shoveled wood chips, and I did the green chain and up to my ankles in mud. And so when Yellow started to talk to me at another fine local establishment about what he had envisioned for taking MDF to look at what looks like an industry in distress and try to pull together all the divergent players who have been fierce competitors to look at that horizon and just over that horizon for what could be. And it's the appropriate place, and I think really the only place that can do all those and be the fair broker. And Yellow is the right man with Skip Bates as his chairman to be at the helm of this. And when we think about these things that are carrying forward, can you tell Yellow gave me a lot of things to mention? We start looking at, thinking about the emotional ties when we watch the debate on if there's a national monument or if there's a national park, what happens with the lumber mills, how are we doing, and the emotional ties that people have to these industries. And I started wondering, thinking back, how do we get so passionate about a tree? And it's really not that, it's our tie to the natural resources of Maine. And so when we start talking about the new Mainers and the new Americans that are here, and we think back to our natural resource-based economy, these are not the first new Mainers that have come in to fill jobs. If you only have to look at the names of the cities of Bangor and New Limerick, not too far from here, the residents of Montjoy Hill, to know that there were new Mainers who were not readily accepted in the past. I went to Gagan's for a meal the other day, and they have a little sign in the beginning when you walk in, and it says, Nina, no Irish need apply. We need to remember our history as we welcome our new Mainers. We need to think of Maine as a welcoming place. The Swedish population in northern Maine that grow fabulous potatoes that we all enjoy, you better all be enjoying them a couple times a day. We need them sold. And you take the Acadians who came in through Canada and Maine and have populated and enriched our state. What would our state of Maine be without the immigrants that I just talked about? So that brings me to my final touch on for what you're talking about here today, and that's civility. Oddly enough, I didn't get my pin today. Terry Hayes was kind enough about a year ago when we were taking pictures of a blue gnome in her office to raise awareness for autism. She gave this to me. We talked a little bit about it. And I used to do politics. I still enjoy it. And oddly enough, you know, in the environment, I've heard some conversations around today. I don't like either candidate, but I hope one of them can do the job. But when it boils down to it, passionate partisan politics is not a bad thing. It's when we make it personal that it becomes that. And raising the level of discourse and civility to go after the policy with the passion and chase that dream or that policy that's going to help move us over that horizon and into what's coming is a good thing. Let's not call them names while we're doing it. We need to work with those people on the other side, on the other issue, tomorrow on a different issue that will help us move forward. So Maine has always had a great ability. I was in the legislature during the shutdown. Talk about passionate partisan politics, protest, horrible stuff. So even, I didn't get personally attacked, but my car did. It was bad, but it seems like it was civil compared to some of the things we witnessed today. So I think if we all join in with the civility chat that we're going to hear later today and move that forward, then we can help the new Mainers feel welcome. The new Mainers will help contribute to our natural resource and other resource-based and entities in the state to move us over that horizon into the future. And with that, I am so very pleased to welcome up to the stage my co-worker, right? Am I not supposed to do that? All right. I have multiple emails with different directions. I have evidence I was supposed to do this right here. So welcome back up, Yellow Light Breen.
Skip and I were going to switch, but we're not sure the slides would have kept up with us, so it's probably better we didn't. Thanks so much, Jim. I don't need to give my keynote now. Those were really thoughtful remarks, and we really appreciate Bangor Savings Bank's support. We also have a tremendous set of event sponsors. I think this is a record for us, at least in recent years, in terms of event sponsorship. Many of you are in this room. Please give a round of applause to those that make today possible. And as I mentioned, Bangor is also one of our Champion Circle members who support us all year long. And literally, this group accounts for more than half of our unrestricted support for the entire organization. So without your support, please know how grateful we are every day. We couldn't be launching new programs. We couldn't be developing new partnerships without our Champion Circle supporters. So we thank them very much. Please give them a round of applause. And let's see. Oh, recognize dignitaries, candidates, and staff. Well, there's too many dignitaries here for me to risk trying to recognize everyone, but I will recognize a few. One, I would like to recognize the Honorable Brenda Commander, Chief of the Holton Band of Maliseets. I can't see very well up here. I don't know a lot about protocol, but I know that Chief Commander outranks me. I believe that we have House Republican leader Ken Fredette here with us. Ken, thank you very much for joining us. I don't know if we have any other members of leadership that wandered in when we weren't looking. Thank you, Ken. And as I mentioned, State Treasurer Terry Hayes is with us. Thank you, Terry. And because I know there are quite a few of them, I would just ask current sitting members of the legislature to rise and be recognized. I saw several. Thank you for your service. And any candidates for the state legislature, if you're in the room. Thank you for putting yourself into the arena. And finally, thank you to our members who are in this room. This is our annual meeting, and we'll transition quickly to the business meeting, as short as it is, in a moment. I want to say nothing we have done this year, nothing we have done today, and nothing we will do in the future is possible without our tremendous staff. As I thought about my schedule over the last few weeks, everything I touched had to be touched by another and usually multiple staff members to make it possible and to make it successful, let alone what they do in their own right. Our small but mighty staff includes our 29-year veteran, Diane Haino. Amrita Perman, Ann Ball, Ryan Neal, Sarah Curran, Mike Higgins, and Kimberly Jablon. Thank you very much for everything they do for MDF. And she didn't list herself because I guess technically she's not really a staff person, but our enormously helpful loaned executive from the Unity Foundation, Lori Roaming, has been tremendous for us. And now please welcome to the podium our chairman of the board, Skip Bates.
Thank you, Yellow, and thank you, Jim. I'm sorry about the mix-up on the emails, although I'm not sure if it was the email or the fact that you're reading them at Gagan's that maybe was the issue. It's been an honor to serve as your chair this year, and so officially I'd like to call to order the 2016 business meeting of the Maine Development Foundation. We have just a few orders of business to take care of, first of which is the fact that the nominating committee has proposed and the full board has endorsed the nomination of the following new board members, as well as the re-election of the following existing board members to serve as members of the board of directors for 2016 to 2017. I would remind you that by statute, half of the MDF board represents for-profit organizations and half represents nonprofit and public sector organizations. please stand as your name is called. Amongst the new board members, Kevin Hancock, President, Hancock Lumber, and Alistair Raymond, Chief Compliance Officer of Avangrid Networks. Standing for re-election to the board from the public and nonprofit sectors, Darcy Main Boyington from the City of Brewer, Peter Del Greco of Main & Company, Chris Duty from Carey Medical Center, Dr. Susan Hunter of the University of Maine, and Patricia Quinn of the Northern New England Passenger Rail Authority, Amtrak Downeaster. Additionally, from the private sector, Skip Bates, Bangor Savings Bank, Susan Corbett of Axiom Technologies, Jonathan Edgerton from Wright Pierce, Mike Gautry of LL Bean, and Dan Netto from Bath Iron Works. Please note that in addition to your elected representatives, the governor appoints 2 representatives from among the group of cabinet-level ex officio members. Currently serving are Commissioner of Economic and Community Development, George Gervais, and Commissioner of Labor, Jean Paquette. So, declaring a quorum to be present, I'd now like to ask all MDF members to vote on the board nominees. I like that. Please note that all companies and organizations that are members of MDF, which include many of the people in the audience today, are asked to please vote in this election. Are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the board member nominations? Is there a second? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? The motion is approved. Also recommended for election for the 2016 to 17 year are the following officers: Skip Bates, Chair, Mike Gautry, Vice Chair, Dan Netto, Treasurer, and Darcy Main Boyington, Member at Large of the Executive Committee. I'd like to ask all MDF members to now vote on officer nominations. Are there any nominations from the floor? Did I see a hand? No. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the officer nominees? Is there a second? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? The motion is approved. Congratulations. I'd also like to recognize our outgoing board member, Steve Elder. Steve has been a board member for the past 5 years, and he'll be transitioning off. Please thank him for his service. So I've never met a microphone that I didn't like. And while I have your attention, I'd like to just share a few thoughts about the year behind us and the year ahead. When I stood before you a year ago in Bangor, I had the pleasure of introducing Yellow as our new president and CEO. I positioned Yellow as a leader, as an agent of change, but also someone who would be a steadfast steward of the MDF brand, someone who would work tirelessly on behalf of this organization and on behalf of the state of Maine. I think I actually warned you to buckle your seatbelts and get ready for a roller coaster ride of a year ahead. Well, whether you use the analogy of the roller coaster ride, or since we're in Maine, maybe a whitewater rafting trip, or sailing through the perfect storm, Yellow has delivered as promised. In fact, it's probably safe to say that Yellow has been both the life raft and the storm. It's been an interesting year. Sorry, Yellow. Along with the heroic efforts of our staff, including Amrita, Ryan, Ann, Diane, and others, Yellow has reached out to you over the past year, to our funders, to nonprofit agencies, to program participants, to state agencies, to the legislative leadership, conducting a listening tour to find out what's important to you, to find out what's important about MDF and what's important about the state of Maine. He's been trying to learn what we're doing well and what we can do better. A year in, he's been practicing putting all of that listening into action, helping us to secure our existing programs. And I'd say we're in great shape. So let me just share a few highlights. In the past year, as a trusted source of research, MDF published the 2016 Measures of Growth. We also released a new report on Maine's labor shortage, which came out just last week. As developers of leaders and leadership, and thanks in particular to, again, Yellow's efforts and to support from our legislative leadership, we've evolved the Policy Leaders Academy. Now, not just a tour of the state focusing on issues and economic issues focusing across the state, it now involves a segment, as Jim mentioned, on civic discourse, on civil discourse. And as a collaborator and as a program developer, we continue to work hard on the main downtown center, which has recently delivered $1.4 million in grants to nonprofit organizations in Maine downtowns through our Grants to Green program. Additionally, we strengthened Leadership Maine through our collaboration with Lift 360, and we've now graduated our 1,000th program participants. Those are some amazing milestones for existing programs. And on top of that, we took on this year the additional Forest Economy Project in collaboration with industry leaders, with the University of Maine, with community leaders, with the United States Department of Commerce. The Forestry Project is going to stand as a monumental effort to help understand what's going on in our forest economy and to be a landmark for advising us with regard to public policy decisions and private sector investment over the years to come. That's a 3-year project at over $900,000. And if you could just give Yellow and the team a hand for that. So with all these successes under our belt, I think it's clear that MDF's brand and program are alive and well. And last year when I stood before you, I asked for your help. Work like this can't happen on the backs of our staff alone. Good movement for the state requires collaboration between our for-profit, nonprofit, and public sector organizations and leadership. It also requires volunteerism and investment. Last year, I asked you as members of the Maine Development Foundation for support with advice, for volunteer efforts, and with fundraising. And I am very glad to say that we have received all of that and more. Among the many people who have donated their time and treasure to the organization, I want to express thanks to Larry Steers of the Unity Foundation. Larry was actually a panelist last year delivering a keynote about philanthropy, and he put his advice to work on behalf of MDF. He has become a trusted advisor to both Yellow and me, providing critical insights about the organization and how we're doing. In addition, he basically gave us his right hand, and with her enthusiastic support, Lori Roaming has been an interim chief admin officer for MDF, serving as a loaned executive part-time while also holding down the fort at the Unity Foundation. We're indebted to both Larry and Lori. Thank you. Yellow mentioned our Champion Circle members. This is a vital funding component for MDF. More than half of our unrestricted funds come from those Champion Circle members. Thank you very much for your support. And if you are not a Champion Circle member, but have the inclination and capacity, we'd love to talk to you. I'd also like to thank the many philanthropic organizations who continue to provide grants and critical funding for the programs that will be well represented today. Finally, I'd like to end with some additional good news to kick off the year ahead. We're going to go on a hiring spree. As I said, we need to increase our capacity. In the next 3 months or so, we're going to add a VP of programs, a full-time chief administrative officer, an events manager, office support, and a communications director. Big investment because we've got big ideas, and we're going to continue to move this organization forward and help with the state. Pursuant to that, we've been looking for resources and are really pleased to announce a $75,000 challenge grant recently given to MDF by a private and very generous individual. So we need your help in 2 ways. One, we need your help with finding the right people to support the MDF staff. Our next communications director might be right here today. And if not, then you probably know somebody who would be the right person, or perhaps the right person to fill the role of VP of programs or chief admin officer. We want to build a world-class team, and we need your help. Additionally, we need your help with fundraising. That $75,000 is truly seed money to help us get some of these new positions going. In particular, it's focused on Leadership Maine and adding a position in this communications director who will be a skilled stakeholder developer, somebody who can help us harness the resources that exist in the room today to keep you informed so that you know about what's going on with MDF and what's going on across the state. It's seed money, but we need to do the match because the grantor is looking just not at the immediate circumstances, but looking at long-term sustainability. And I think that's really wise. So what I would ask you is this. In the year ahead, will you be our next Larry Steers, who offers sage wisdom and advice? Or will you be our next Lori Roaming, who rolls up her sleeves and helps out with day-to-day management of the organization? Will you be a program participant or an advocate recommending someone else to participate in one of MDF's programs? Will you be a fundraiser or could you be a donor? All of these ways of serving are very important to us and they're all vital to our success. So I thank you for your support, and with that, I'd like to open the 2016 annual meeting of the Maine Development Foundation. Thank you.